No Time for Games, Midnight Oil from the Bird Noises EP, and in the studio we have Peter Garrett. Hello, Peter.
Hello, Stuart.
First I should ask you, where have Midnight Oil been over about the past 6 months? It's been about 6 months since we've seen you playing around. You've all been off to different places, I hear.
Some of the band have been travelling and others of the band have just been sitting at home playing, I think. I went over to London, New York to have a look, and Jim and Martin sort of got out little 4-track recorders and, started making noises. Hence the EP.
What did you see over in London and New York that took your fancy? Anything?
I saw Split Ends in London. Yeah, they took my fancy. I saw a lot of the smaller bands in London. I didn't actually go to look at bands. Right. I just went as a tourist. But I went along anyway. I didn't see any of the big stars because all the big stars are booked out years in advance.
Right, yeah.
I just saw some pub bands and some local authentic reggae bands with black guys with curly hair playing in them, and I had a good time.
Right. Now, where does the material from Bird Noises come from? Was that done? That was obviously done before you all went away.
Yeah. Most of the material on Bird Noises, with the exception of the instrumental, were actually demos for the third album, which we just went in and did at the Music Farm. And we sort of liked the way they'd come out. We put them down very quickly, and we decided that the third album would be different. So we added our little theme for an imaginary surf movie.
Yeah.
And said, okay, this will do. Let's do an EP. It was just a really quick idea, and we threw it out there and then.
Right. No Time for Games, that seems to be it's the longest track on it, and it also seems to be is that the main one from the EP?
No, I think actually when we recorded them, each one was about the same as the others. We didn't really think, that there was an A side or a B side. It's not meant to be a side one or a side two. Right. They're just all there.
Tell us the story about No Time for Games. It's an interesting lyric line about children and kids and.
Well, yeah, I think it's there. I mean, I'm,
loath to.
Yeah. You can read a lot of things into the lyrics, and I'd be the last person to suggest that there was any more in it than just a bunch of words. But I don't know. Maybe it's about lost. You tell the Triple J listening audience, Stuart, what Some Kids is all about. I haven't got a clue.
Well, neither have I. I think you're right. They all have to do that themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Let's have a listen to another track from the EP.
Okay.
Midnight Oil, Knife's Edge. Peter, when were these recorded? This EP?
They were recorded at the very end of the Back on the Borderline tour, which finished in June this year. We were up in Queensland, and we would come back down to Sydney, and we thought we'd stop at the Music Farm in the idyllic, situation, and gaze at the hills and hang around and get inspired. In actual fact, we got there, we had a couple of songs which we hadn't been playing for very long, like Knife's Edge and Cure, and we got so bored that by the time we got into the studio, we just went in and just raged, just played them, and I just stood out in the kitchen and sang my heart out. And we've left all the things. It's about as rough and ready as the oil can get at the moment. We've left all my little grunts and what have you on it, and it's just us mucking around. And then we came back down to Sydney, and Jim Magini mixed Wedding Cake down here at EMI Studios with Les Karski, who produced the EP as well.
Yeah, he also produced Head Injuries, didn't he? So?
That's right, yeah. And then we had the 4 songs, and we thought, the third album's obviously going to take some time in coming. Why not let it out on an unsuspecting public? So there it is.
Why did it take so long to get the EP out? Was it just that you want to all be back and touring again, or?
No, I think it was that we were in a funny situation as far as record companies were concerned, and in actual fact, we originally were going to release the EP ourselves, and what we did was we set up our own label, which is Instant Relief Label, but we found out that it would just be we went into the sort of economics and logistics of distributing it all over the country, which is always the killer. That's the Achilles heel. And so we decided to keep our involvement with Powderworks going, so we put it through Powderworks, and that took a bit of time, so that's the only reason why it's a bit longer.
Your whole relationship with Powderworks has been quite interesting, though, hasn't it? Because when you started off, you were the first band. It was sort of the label was created for you
That's
anyway,
right.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then they had the various overseas releases
Yes.
on Powderworks. Did you have any involvement in selecting who went out on that? From
Originally, we were involved with Powderworks far more than we are now, but we were always really playing a lot and all over the country when we
Right.
decided to tour a bit after head injuries. We weren't involved as much, but we've known and encouraged them to move towards certain areas of music, which I think is really good that they have, because it's turned into a really good label.
Right. And you're gonna stay with them now.
Well, I mean, we're pretty happy at the moment, so who knows?
Who knows what can happen?
Yes.
Another Midnight Oil track from the Bird Noises EP. One thing, obviously, you're now about to get back on the road, right?
Yeah.
Now
Yes.
you're all back in Sydney.
We're going sweat again. Yeah.
How long's the tour going for? I notice it's going all over Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to go up until New Year's Eve. And hopefully on New Year's Eve we're going to do something special.
Oh, good.
We're going to Melbourne, a little bit down in Melbourne and on the coast. Same old traps.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're back. You're in Sydney. It's the end of November, isn't it? End of this month and early December, I think.
Yeah, we're in Sydney round about now, which is somewhere towards the end of November, and then again in about 2 weeks.
Right. Now I know it's a bit early to start. You've just got one EP out for me to start talking about plans to record the next, but I'm running out of things to say. No.
That's like too early in the morning.
Yeah. Have you got any plans?
Future
to do
plans.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we do. We hope to start recording another album early in 1981, which will either be part of it will be done here, and possibly part of it will be done overseas.
Aha.
We're really looking for a studio that we can play as fully as we want in. Up until this point, we've spent a little bit of time on the records, but we've never got anywhere near a sound that's quite represents the Oil full tilt live.
Right.
And we want to go and create havoc in one of these very big studios over there, and not one of the studios that's got carpet and Californian and lots of equipment, just like a big double-story room with a tape recorder in it, which there aren't here. And
Right.
just play our asses off.
And so that obviously means that you're hoping to go overseas. Any have you any sort of firm plans about that, or?
Not really, no. I mean, we're really always been a little bit, overseas. Oh well.
Yeah.
Never thought about it. But if we do go over there to do part of the next one, then we might go down to some club and play a few shows for them.
Right.
Blow them out the back door. The back door.
I mean, was that changed partially by the fact that some of you went overseas and saw what was going on over there?
Well, I really felt when I was over there that the Australian bands were the bands who were creating a lot of interest and who were sounding good. And I really think that people over there are very interested in Australian music, so we're part of Australian music, so they were interested in us. They don't make much sense of it. I played the EP in New York to some very cool customers who, they didn't really want to be rude, but they were sort of saying stuff like, well, yeah, I can't really connect and all that, using all these American words, and I'm going, this is all about such and such. I think the lyric content got them a bit baffled, but they are interested in Australian bands, and Australian bands have done well, so, we might go over and play.
Right, talking about lyric content, the next and in fact last song we're going to play is Wedding Cake Island, which is the one that you described before as your surfing movie theme, and you were saying before that at one stage it had lyrics. Repeat that story, Mr. Garrett.
At one time, Midnight Oil had intended to do a whole lot of surf songs because we've written a lot in the past, instrumentals and old shadows type things, and done new ones as well.
And lots of people bring up the fact that in fact you were at one stage almost a surfing band.
Almost, yeah, but not quite, yeah. And in fact, when we went into the studio, we did Wedding Cake as a joke, and the idea was that I'd go in and sort of do a commentary over the top of Wedding Cake, which involved the whole experience of going up the coast and what happened to you up there, and was based a little bit on what had happened to me in my younger days and stuff like that. But unfortunately, I sort of got a little bit sidetracked at certain points, remembering certain things that had happened, and it was just chock-a-block of libelous, bad language and all these things, and we were going to release it like that, but we've only left one little portion of speaking on it, and the rest of it's just untrammeled by the human voice.
Well, thanks very much for coming in and explaining all this this record to us and what you've been up to, and
It's my pleasure.
we hope to see. We'll obviously see you around at the, as you say, the normal traps around Sydney in the coming weeks.
Yeah, yes.
Great.